Can we just talk about how summer is almost over?
Can we just talk about?
No, summer is almost over, and I'm like kind of happy about it because I'm tired of titty sweat
I can
and other things.
vouch for that. I'm tired of your titty sweat too.
Yes.
Oh, the
Funny.
summer. I didn't really do anything this summer. I really didn't. I pretty much worked. I did go away for a week. I hit up the beach for a couple days.
What? You went to NOLA?
Yeah, but I didn't get to do summery things.
Oh my god, same. But I feel like once you hit 24 and up, like
I was gonna say I ain't 25 yet.
your summer is really just working because you're just broke adult.
Also, I think I didn't get to do the things that like make a summer. Like I didn't get to watch Good Burger. Oh, you know what? I did watch Good Burger.
We did watch Good Burger, and some man or whoever made up those statistics of summer. Like you can make your own.
Who? What statistics of
Anybody for anything. Like who says you have to go to the beach because it's warm out?
It's just what I'm used to my entire life. I just ate my first watermelon today of the summer.
That's really depressing.
And it was sitting in the back of my parents' fridge. We didn't have watermelon at that cookout.
That's true. You had Tootie Beans.
For any of you wondering what we serve up at these cookouts, besides looks.
Bitch.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, summer's almost over.
Fall. I can't wait.
Can't wait. Roll out the pumpkin.
I'm going to look
Pumpkin
all
Express.
fall.
All fall.
And my hair is growing back.
Mine
I
too.
chopped all my hair off, guys. Once upon a time.
Not that they can see anything. Just look at her on Instagram, like you'll be able to see it.
Yeah, shout out to me.
But can we just talk about
Here
this
it goes.
dope podcast called Based on a True Crime? So calling all horror movie fanatics and true crime fans seriously, this is a podcast. They are dope. It's run by two people, Chelsea and David, and these people do their research seriously, like to a T. It's pretty awesome because she likes true crime, he likes horror. It sounds like a paid promo. It's not a paid promo. I swear. I swear. I just really like this podcast. But she likes true crime, he likes horror movies, so they came together.
Yes.
And they take movies based on true crimes and they dissect the real true crimes and then they dive into the movies. And it's
Chelsea,
really...
you're hot.
It's a pod... Did you look them up?
Yeah, I looked them up.
I was like, yeah, that voice though. Yeah, but I binged them all week. Seriously. And I do believe they might be listening. So hi. Thanks for listening. You guys rock. Right. Sarah, are you scrolling?
Yeah.
What are you scrolling for?
I'm scrolling through this thing.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Hi, welcome to Esoteric Oddities.
Sarah, scrolling. What are you
Sarah.
Scrolling? I'm always scrolling.
Yeah, it's scrolling Sarah. Sarah scrolls.
All right, let's hop into this.
Is it you first or no?
Yeah. The category today is Unsolved Mysteries.
Back at it.
Yeah, he does it the best. All
yes,
right.
I do.
Let's jump into this. 2008, guys. We're
what
going
a year.
back.
Lady Gaga was at the top of the charts.
Yeah, that was like a good time. Now look at us.
Yeah, we're still trucking.
Brandon Swanson, a 19-year-old freshman at Minnesota West Community College, was celebrating with his friends during the last day of classes when the unexpected happened. Dun, dun, dun. No, just kidding.
I love you. No, I'm just kidding. You already did. It's already out there. You already did it. I mean, I could edit it out, but I'm not going to.
No, we're raw here. Wrap it up, kids. May 14th, 2008, shortly after midnight, Brandon called his parents, Antoinette and Brian Swanson, stating he had driven into a ditch in the town of Lind, Minnesota, and needed a ride home. So I just want to warn you guys before I get into this, most of this are quotes, so stay with me. We got in the pickup to go to this spot where he felt he was, Brian Swanson recalled. He thought he knew exactly where his son was, about 10 minutes from their house in Marshall. He was absolutely positive he knew where he was, Brian Swanson said. The parents stayed on the phone talking to their son as they headed to pick him up.
I think I heard of this one.
No, I'm so pissed.
No, but I didn't do research on it, but I'm going to wait for you to do the kicker because I think there's a kicker in here, right? Like an unexpected twist.
No, not really.
Oh, okay. Maybe I haven't heard of this one.
Maybe it's you think it's an unexpected twist and I don't.
Could be that.
But when they got there was no car and no Brandon. They turned around and flashed the lights on their truck. We were saying we're flashing our lights, Antoinette Swanson.
Antoinette Swanson.
Antoinette Swanson said over the phone. They could hear their son working the light switch in his car. Click, click, click. Don't you see me? He asked. There was nothing, his father said. Absolutely nothing. At one point, he hung up on me, so I called him back and apologized, his mother said. Frustrated, Brandon told his parents he would walk back to his friend's house in Lind in the next town over. His father drove his mother home and then went back for him. It was now 2 a.m. and Brandon's father still could not locate him. He directed his father to a nightclub parking lot that was popular in the town. At the 47-minute mark of the phone call, it ended suddenly. Brandon's father heard him shout and the phone went dead. We called at least 5 or 6 more times. He never picked up the phone again. Brandon Swanson. May 14, 2008, roughly around 2 a.m. was the last time anyone heard from Brandon Swanson. We called at least 5 or 6 more times, his father said. He never picked up the phone again. The Swansons went to Brandon's friends for help. The group searched all night, driving through woods and dirt roads. They had no luck. I feel so bad. Imagine this. I would be in a panic.
Yeah. So they were going to meet somewhere. Was this in their hometown? Like
no, it was the next town. It was It was like the neighboring town. So, I guess.
So maybe he didn't know where he was. Maybe he wasn't on the right road. But wait, didn't he say that they were going to meet by a popular spot?
So as it goes on, it kind of explains that. But I also go back to, if he said he was at the nightclub, then.
Huh. Yeah, I would have just been like, hey, meet me at the Arby's. And then you can buy me food. It gets
weird. I'm going to, once I'm done, I'm going to go back to it. Just remember that part. Because that's what, when I was researching this, that's what confused me the whole time. May 15th at 6:30 a.m. is when Brandon's mother called the Lind Police Department to report her missing son. Officers eventually joined the search and had no luck finding any trace of Brandon Swanson. It was then that the citywide search was conducted. The response was put on hold because officers pointed out it was not that alarming for a 19-year-old boy to stay out all night after finishing college classes.
Naturally. I mean, although I can agree with them, if parents get into it and they think that it's a situation, it's a situation.
It's a situation. Like, she knows her son.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
And they weren't on the phone with the parents when he was like, why can't you find me? Why can't you find me? Like,
clearly, like, oh, come on.
I know.
Also, I read somewhere, this could be a lie, but I don't think that the whole, here you're supposed to wait 48 hours for a missing person. I don't know if that's necessarily true.
That is true.
I always thought it was true, but I heard somewhere, it might have been on a podcast.
I think it's 24 hours.
Something like that. But I know, whenever any kid in high school or middle school would go missing, it would be like a runaway.
Yeah,
especially girls. Especially girls, like back in the 70s
women.
and stuff.
What? People take their, like, they're obviously abducted. They're not running away.
Well, I mean, not obviously abducted. I do think a lot of situations they are, but like.
That is true.
They were, especially back in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, when people were still hitchhiking, they would be more like totally labeled, stamped as a runaway.
Crazy shit.
It is. Joan Jett and the Runaways.
I love her. Shout out to you if you're listening.
Her and Her Black Heart. That was a great movie, though, by the way.
Oh my God, The Runaways was so good. So the next part is messed up because a police officer actually said that her son had the right to be missing. Yeah.
Did she say it in those words?
Yeah. Antoinette Swanson said an officer said that at his age, her son had a right to be missing.
Well, they probably felt salty the next day.
I'm saying, so phone records later state Brandon was nowhere near the town he said he told his parents he was. His calls were traced to a tower 20 minutes away in Minnesota. That afternoon, Lynn County Police found Swanson's car in Porter, 25 miles from Lind.
So do you think he was, like, drunk?
Maybe, but it still goes back to that one parking lot that you can't... if that's a popular nightclub, that's...
Or he could have been either drunk or he could have been high, and he could have just, not really knew where he was.
That's true. It says 20 miles from Lynn, so it could have been like...
20 miles is far.
25. And
25 miles or 25 minutes?
It says miles.
That's not close.
Like, I feel like it's like that one thing where, like, if you go right, it's this way. If you go left, it's this way.
That made 0 sense and didn't clear anything up.
I'm saying, like, Lind was probably right, and he went left, which is Porter.
Oh.
I just flipped him off. It was off the side of a field approach, and the vehicle was hung up. What? Lincoln County Sheriff.
Did you just react to that?
Yeah, because every time I read it, how, like, hung up. That's so, like, imagine that.
Oh my god, though. Okay, just the way you said that, sorry. What?
Lincoln County Sheriff Jack Bisecki said it's sort of a sharp incline, nothing major, but enough that a car would get hung up so the wheels are too high off the ground to get any traction. Police stated there was nothing unusually found at the site, but they could not figure out which way Brandon went after he left his vehicle. There's grass in the ditch and gravel on the road, so it's possible to leave that vehicle and not leave any tracks.
Interesting.
Search dogs were brought in attempts to find the missing teen. The dogs led investigators by the banks of the Yellow Medicine River. Some parts of the river were knee-deep and others were as deep as 15 feet. At the time, the flow was high and fast. There are 2 miles of the river in that area, and it took 6 hours to walk it, Jack said. He said he personally walked the river every day for 30 days.
We were just talking about... Well, I guess it's because you had already
That's
read
why.
this. But, oh
That's
my
why I
gosh,
was
it's
telling you that
a lot of the
story.
times. Why is there always a river nearby?
I'm telling you, like, how?
It's all... Oh my goodness. A lot of the times it's people going missing, and it's always by a river.
It's always the river. I already read that. At the time, the dogs indicated, and it was believed that he must have fallen in the river in that area. So we searched that area on the premises that... What?
Mm-hmm.
On the premise that he'd be washed downstream. No. Investigators are not convinced that the teen fell into the river. Bisecki said Swanson should have been found in the river or downstream he had fallen in. And his parents were not convinced that he drowned either. I don't know why they wouldn't think that, but they don't think
It could have been in denial.
That's true. There really is nothing to indicate that he's in the river, she said. His mom. According to her, one bloodhound followed a scent from the stranded car down to a gravel road to an abandoned farm. The dog actually jumped in the river and jumped back out and walked the trail.
He smells something. What's up, Scruffy?
Right. It was a long trail, about 3 miles. The new path also led to the Yellow Medicine River. The dog actually jumped in the river, jumped back out, worked the trail up to another gravel road, and then lost the scent.
How is he walking that far?
It's a dog. Oh, the boy?
No, the dog. That's crazy. That dogs can, like, smell a scent and then walk for miles.
So, the police officer thinks that this boy got snatched up in the woods.
Maybe that's why he yelled, oh, shit.
Right. The only thing...
Oh, my... Okay, sorry.
Would have been if someone was in the shadows and they got him that way. I can't say there wasn't someone else there, but I can't find any evidence of it. Cadaver dogs and searchers should have found a body or some evidence that Swanson had fell in the river. I can't explain why clothing, belongings, or anything else wouldn't surface. I can't explain why after searching for 3 weeks, the dog could not smell anything. And then his mom said, people just don't vanish into thin air, but it sure seems like it.
That's crazy.
The parents are responsible for the enactment of Brandon's Law, which became effective in Minnesota on July 1st, 2009. The law requires authorities to conduct a preliminary investigation without delay when a missing persons report is received.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. Brandon Swanson has brown hair and blue eyes. I'm shouting out for him. He stands 5'6", weighs 125 pounds. When he was last seen, he was wearing blue jeans a white or black hat twisted to the side, and white short sleeve shirt. If anyone has any information that could lead to the whereabouts of Brandon Swanson, please call Lincoln County Sheriff Office at 507-694-1664.
That is crazy. Seriously,
Thin air,
that's insane, because even if he was drunk under the influence of something, you said he was on the phone with his parents, they disconnected, then they called again, and they were on the phone for 57 minutes.
So that person had to drag him into the woods, if that was the case. He was in the woods.
He wasn't. No, but I'm talking about even if he was under the influence, he would have sobered up somewhat to become more. Do you know? And I feel like his parents would have known if he was. He could have. I'm not saying that he wasn't, but I'm just saying his parents could have been like, maybe he's under the influence of something after being on the phone with him for so damn long.
But they didn't say that, and I feel like they would have.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. And why would somebody just be in the middle of the woods?
I know, but what happened to him? It had to be someone took him.
Unless he fell in the water. I don't know.
They literally searched the water for so long.
I mean, if it was... I have no idea.
People, they float up. Water, you can't stay down.
Unless somebody tied bricks to him.
That's true. That's crazy. That was my stomach.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That was my stomach.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I heard it.
No, but I feel like his hat would have
something maybe
surfaced. Something would have.
Unless if somebody snatched him. I mean, he could be somewhere else. He could still be alive.
Call that number. 507-694-1664. Minnesota.
That's sad. How old was he?
19.
Oh. In 2008?
Yeah.
Wow, that's almost been 10 years.
Imagine you don't even, get a proper anything for your child.
I'm sure they held something.
Yeah, but...
yeah. No closure.
No.
I can't relate, so I can't feel how, awful that feels. But my cat ran away, so that's a thing. No, I'm really not trying to be funny. I'm really not trying to be disrespectful. My thoughts go out to that family and friends, because I can't honestly imagine what that would be like. They didn't find anything?
Anything, nothing.
No shoes, they didn't find his phone. They just pinged it?
Yeah.
Oh,
no
damn.
phone, no shoes, no cap, no anything.
Well, I mean...
And his friends, think of how his friends must feel, because they were with him that night.
Yeah.
And they probably were like...
Damn. It's just my walls rattling. I've noticed that's in some of the episodes you can't hear it.
I don't like the way that sounds.
It's fine.
I don't like that.
I can't do anything about it. It's just my walls.
It's growling.
Well, if these walls could talk. Damn, but yeah, if you guys have any information. Yeah, these walls are actually a lot louder than usual. It's kind of...
It's weird.
Spooky. Ooh, great segue into my story. You may or may not have heard of this, but this is the Atlanta House of Blood.
Did you already do this?
Nope. I did it when we were gonna... So we had originally recorded a very first episode before we recorded the first episode that was published, and it never went anywhere because we just had issues with the microphone we were using, and it was just a mess. So... You may be familiar with this, Sarah. However, our listeners may not. So this is the Atlanta House of Blood. So in 1987, William and Minnie Winston lived in a 6-room home that they had been renting for the past 22 years on the corner of Fountain Drive and Morris Street in Atlanta, Georgia. On the night of September 8th, 77-year-old Minnie stepped out of the shower to find small puddles of red liquid on the bathroom floor. She quickly woke up her 79-year-old husband, William, yelling, "Come look at all this red stuff coming out of the floor." That was a direct quote.
I love the way you did that accent.
Thank you. I was a child actor. I was in the background of a Bubblicious commercial. Maybe you recognize my voice.
I need that Bubblicious strawberry gum right now.
The one that lasts, the flavor lasts for a 2 second, and it's all right, well, that was fun while it lasted. The bubbles are worth it. All right, so upon further inspection, They believed that it may have been blood, so they dialed the police. Officers arrived and found more red liquid throughout the house, covering the floors and lower walls in the bathroom, the bedroom, the kitchen, and every hallway in the house. They even found some in a nearly inaccessible crawl space in the basement. So they searched the premises and found no signs of a break-in nor anyone else on the property. It's also important to note that the couple did not own pets or have anyone else living with them at the time. The investigation showed no evidence of rodents or vermin living in the house either. So police arrived and found blood ranging from silver dollar-sized pools to 6-inch by 2-inch streaks on the floor and carpet. There were also tiny patterned droplets of blood that were also around these puddles. Along these puddles, walls, floors, and baseboards. So at first, police thought that it had something to do with an accident, potentially caused by a dialysis machine in the home. So William was suffering from kidney failure, and he was often hooked up to a dialysis machine, which pretty much was cleansing his blood for him. But William denies that it was his blood, claiming, quote, "I don't know what that stuff is."
These accents.
So clearly that's just a valid source of denial, since he didn't know what that stuff was. They're like, well, he doesn't know, guys.
He doesn't know what that stuff is.
It's very interesting. Sorry, Atlanta, if you're listening, we're not making fun of you. We love you. So homicide detective Steve Cartwright collected evidence of the red substance and sent it for testing at the state crime lab. The results were alarming. So 3 days later, on September 11th, 1987, it was confirmed that the red substance was indeed blood. The lab further provided information that said that it was actually human blood type O. But both Minnie and William were proven via documents to be blood type A. Detective Cartwright stated that in his 10 years of service, quote, "I've never seen anything like this." He called it a, quote, "extremely strange situation." Well, Detective Cartwright, I am here for it.
Living for it.
Living. So, the true horror mystery of the bleeding house quickly spread throughout Atlanta. It drew in crowds from across the metro area. Harassing phone calls were made by strangers to the Winston residence, and curious people began peeking through the windows at night just to get a glimpse of the walls that bled. It became such a problem that police ended up declaring the house a crime scene to prohibit trespassers. Atlanta homicide detectives grew frustrated as their work progressed to no avail. Homicide Commander Lieutenant Horace Walker stated, quote, "We will continue a routine investigation, and if we find that no crime was committed, we're through with it." Ooh.
So the house wouldn't stop bleeding?
It stopped bleeding. It just was that one night they found all that blood, and they didn't know what it was. That was like the only instance.
Oh.
So, but, news spreads fast.
Yeah.
And that's a headline that, journalists eat the shit out of.
Right.
Are you kidding me? A house that bleeds? That's going to sell.
Yeah.
I would buy it.
I would buy the house.
I wouldn't buy the house, but I would buy the paper about the house.
Oh.
So as the police investigation continued, the public and media interest intensified, naturally. So news anchors, journalists, and radio hosts began running the bizarre story under the assumption of paranormal occurrences, possibly related to a poltergeist. The officers of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, radio and television stations, and the police department were flooded with inquiries from listen to me, trying to be smart, from across the entire country.
Oh my God. Are you good?
I'm good. Are you good?
No.
So people, again, were constantly calling radios in Atlanta, wanting to know if the house really bled and how it was possible, and tried to make sense of it all. So Minnie and William continued to lay awake at night due to their constant phone calls. There go those walls again. My walls are going to start bleeding, and that is when this podcast is going to become a video.
Look at that crock pot you have. Why don't we ever cook anything in it?
I don't know how to cook in a crock pot.
You throw shit in there and you turn it on and you walk away.
Raindrop, drop top, cooking that shit in the crock pot. Copyright. Okay.
Yes.
Back to Minnie and William. So Minnie basically was like the outspoken one. William didn't really do much talking. So I'm just going to keep that in mind, take that information as what it is, but most of the quotes were coming from her, besides the fact William didn't, quote, know what that stuff is, end quote. Minnie claimed, quote, I'm fed up with it. I'm tired of all these people asking me questions. She further stated that she did not want to have anything to do with the controversy, and she said, people are coming out here to see it, and it's troubling us, which I can understand. So, investigative journalists tried to cover the story and only heard Winnie shouting behind a closed door, quote, what they've been saying about us is lies. Just leave us alone. And then accent. William yelled, here comes Willie, quote, there's no blood in this house. Now get away from here. End quote. So the Homicide Bureau and the State Crime Lab never identified the source of the blood, nor did they detect any indication of a hoax or a crime. That's what it says online. However, I don't quite know how you can sum up the fact that you're like, I don't know what it is, but it is definitely not a hoax, and it is certainly not a crime, but we don't know what it is. Like,
but they had the scientific...
Right, let me get to it, but I'm just saying, how are you going to say you don't know what it is, but it's not a hoax or a crime?
Oh, right.
So, like, that makes no sense.
Fishy.
Very. So it troubles me that we don't have any answer, says Crime Lab Detector Howard. There's a group that's called the Georgia Skeptics. They are essentially a group of people who want logical answers. And let me read a quote from their website. It says, I love quotes in this episode. We love quotes.
Right. We're just quoting everybody out here.
Yeah, for real. So, quote, our group is a place for others with the same common mindset where we can get together and have a good time, learn, and maybe make our local area and possibly society a more rational place. That quote is from Steve Novella. Thank you, Steve. Avid listener of this podcast. So in 1987, these Georgia skeptics were sick of all the paranormal talk, because that's pretty much what all the media was chalking this up to. And they wanted scientific answers, and they wanted it now, god damn it. So members Dr. Joe Nickel, Larry Johnson, Rick Moen, and Rebecca Long, remember her name, Rebecca Long, they went directly to Lieutenant Walker's office, who, again, was the homicide commander, and they asked for an explanation. All right, so now I don't know how legal this is, since the case was still under investigation at the time, but then again, I'm no lawyer. But it has been documented that they went to the lieutenant. I don't know, isn't there like a open information clause or something? I don't know.
Where?
I don't know. In the handbook that they give you when you're born. Wish I would have got my copy.
True Crimes Handbook.
So Lieutenant Walker informs the skeptics that there was potentially some family problems that existed. He was very vague on this, but he claims that it could have possibly been a hoax. Again, back when they said that it wasn't a hoax. He said that it could have possibly been a hoax or stunt pulled by Minnie and William to get their children's attention. So their children aren't really children. They're grown adults, but children because they were their offspring. So Walker further stated that due to William's dialysis, they potentially had access to blood, saying that Minnie and William, because he had a dialysis machine, somehow he could have had access to someone's blood who didn't have his blood type. Because remember, the blood that they found in the house was type O. Him and Minnie are both documented as being type A. I know I keep saying documented a lot, but I feel like you can be skeptical about, that there actually is, like, it's not just hearsay, like they actually, yeah, okay, you get what I'm saying. So, my issue here, again, is how the hell would they have access to type O blood if it was not their own, and why wouldn't they just use William's blood? I mean, it's fair to
get caught.
I guess it's fair to say that they may have thought that using type O blood or someone else's blood, figuring that they would probably test the blood. They could have been like, yeah, we're going to pull this hoax and it's not going to be our blood and they're going to test it and everyone's going to get confused. And then
they probably thought that it wasn't going to get as crazy as it was. And then
very well could have been.
It did, and now they're pissed. So good job.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all in the field of possibilities. That sounds like a Disney movie, Field of Possibilities.
Let's make it.
So contrary to that, Lieutenant Walker also stated that the hoax could have been pulled by their children themselves in order to prove Minnie and William legally incompetent for financial reasons. I think this is curious because it makes sense. However, it was like there's nothing to back this up. I looked everywhere. I scoured the internet. And there's nothing to back this up. However, again, that Field of Possibilities starring Bruce Willis. So apparently the Winston's daughter worked in a hospital and she would have had access to blood every single day. Again, my issue is whichever son or daughter did this, they would have to run around the house really fast with a bag of blood and then sneak into the bathroom while Minnie was taking a shower in order to pull this hoax. And they would have had to do it in a short amount of time, not be heard.
Or they were all in on it.
It doesn't matter. They could have all been in on it. But like Minnie got into the shower and there was no blood on the floor. She got out of the... It's not like they woke up in the morning and...
She lied.
Who, Minnie?
Yeah.
But if the kids were pulling this prank, she wouldn't have lied about it.
Oh, that's true.
If she was doing it, she would have... Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So they say something for financial reasons. Again, if the daughter is a nurse... and these two older people are renting a house. It's a small house. I don't quite know where any of this is coming from. So the lieutenant showed the group photos. He was talking to the Georgia skeptics. He showed them photos of the blood at the house. So after looking at the pictures, we're going to jump ahead a few years later to 1994. So Georgia Skeptic member Rebecca Long wrote an interesting piece in a newsletter of the Georgia Skeptics. So she stated that she woke up to find the walls and ceiling in her bedroom oozing a substance that looked identical to the color of the blood she saw in the photos from the Winston's house. And that's all for my story. Thanks for listening, guys. I'm just kidding.
I looked at him like I was supposed to hit him with this water bottle.
So a friend joined her and they searched the attic for answers. There in the spine of the house, they found that Rebecca's bleeding walls was actually caused by resin dripping from the rafters on a hot summer day. So then Rebecca, being a skeptic, compared the blood to that actually oozed from so the blood, quote unquote blood from her house, which actually was just resin, was actually oozing from her walls. I don't know if you've ever seen it. My old house used to, like, you could kind of see it coming out of the walls. It kind of looks like sap or something.
I don't know where your old house was.
I know. I'm saying I don't know if you've ever seen it in person.
Oh.
I'm not saying I don't know if you've ever seen my old house.
I was like, what? No, I haven't. You got pictures?
I do have pictures in my wallet. I keep a picture of my old house just for the memories. So she compared the blood from her walls to the blood that was found in the Winston's home. And she went on the record saying that, quote, the blood patterns in the Winston's looked as if the liquid did not come from inside the wall. The blood in her wall had emerged through the paint on the wall approximately 8 inches below the ceiling and left long streaks about a foot long that ran down the wall until it dried. So she's pretty much saying that the blood didn't ooze from the Winston's walls. Instead, now she's saying that it was sprayed or spattered by someone or something. Since she had seen the photos of the blood, which is not open to the public. So she's saying the walls didn't ooze. She's saying that she thinks somebody like threw or squirted or used like something to spray the blood.
She literally was in the shower.
Who, Minnie?
Yeah, she was in the shower. So how is that possible?
Wait, what are you talking about? I'm saying the blood.
It's so stressful.
Oh, you're getting stressed.
Like It's a lot of like he said, she said.
Yeah, because nobody really knows what happened.
Right, so they should just deem it unsolved and move on.
They did. Can you just strap on?
I will strap on. Yes, sweetie. I will strap on.
All right, well, strap on because it's about to get bumpy. So we're jumping back to 1988. Basically, that whole thing about Rebecca Long, she was just saying that the walls were not oozing. She thinks somebody who was in that house sprayed it on the floor to get attention. Indirectly, she's saying that Minnie and Mickey, Minnie and William did it for attention.
No.
So shortly after the buzz around the story began to fade, a spokesperson stated that they now considered the case closed, though it was unsolved, as no evidence existed that a crime had been committed. The spokesperson also admitted that police were as baffled for an explanation as to what caused the blood to show up as anyone else. And the original case detective is no longer even with the department. So then there's this man named Kurt Rowlett, and he lived in Atlanta and somehow convinced Minnie to have a face-to-face conversation to set the record straight. Now, Kurt, I don't want to say he wasn't anyone special. He wasn't like on a police force or anything. He was just a resident in Atlanta when this was happening. And a few years later, he finally got Minnie to talk because nobody had really gotten her to talk because, it was last week's news. All right, so I have a long quote that's coming directly from him. Shout out to Kurt. So he said, I learned that she and her husband had lived in this 6-room brick house for 22 years and that they had never experienced anything in that house prior to the blood incident. But when I questioned her closely about the bloodstains, Mrs. Winston was quite adamant that it was not blood that had appeared in her house, but rather rust and mud mixed with water. That she said was sprayed into the house by steam from a ruptured hot water heater in the basement. He then says the fact that samples from the pools and spatters had been tested by the police and determined to be actual human blood, with even a subgroup of blood type O, effectively ruled out Mrs. Winston's theory. Also, rusty, muddy water propelled by steam would have needed to reach the upper floors, according to Mrs. Winston, and apparently there were only 2 floor vents in their home, and neither of them had any substance inside them or outside of them. So I know her statement was, in this regard, was simply not accurate in the light of the test made by the police, but it soon became obvious to me why she would want to make such a claim. Mrs. Winston emphasized quite strongly to me that if the substance had been actually blood, she would not be willing to stay in that house anymore. So basically, what I'm getting from it is that she wants people to think that it wasn't really blood. I think she clearly...
she's over it.
Yeah, I'd be over it too. So he then says, I asked Mrs. Winston if she or her husband had ever experienced anything like this in the house prior to the incident, and specifically whether she believed the house was haunted. She denied that anything similar had ever happened, but she would not give me a direct answer when I asked about the home possibly being the site of a supernatural occurrence. But it was obvious to me that the real blood was the last thing that she wanted the substance to be, both because she was afraid of the possibility and due to the facts that the case had received so much publicity while the story was still in the news. To this day, many people believe the unsolved mystery was one of a paranormal encounter. But after all things considered, a paranormal event seems as likely an explanation as any other that has been proposed to date. Minnie and William are both dead. Oh. Sorry, R.I.P.
Yeah, that was
And for all we know, so is any chance of discovering what really happened in the Atlanta House of Blood.
Dun, dun, dun.
I just think that the main thing about how the detectives said that the kids would have had a reason, like a financial reason, to want the blood to be in the house.
That's fine.
They really skated around that. They should have dug into details. Like, I want to know more. That's a huge red flag. That's like the one logical possibility that it could have been. And they didn't even name the kids anywhere in this case.
Yes, Rebecca.
Rebecca was not a kid. Rebecca was a Georgia skeptic. Girl,
right.
Take notes next time.
Ew. No, but how did the kid get into the bathroom without Minnie knowing? is she like? What?
She was older. She could have been like hard of hearing.
That's true.
The kid, like, it wasn't a kid. We keep calling it a kid, but if it was the
Yeah,
daughter,
woman.
she was a nurse. She was a grown nurse, and she's the only one that they really reference. They didn't say exactly how many kids that they had together.
I'll never tell. That was such a good movie.
Must have missed that one.
With Brittany Murphy.
But I think it is quite possible that it was one of the kids. But again, who knows what the hell would have been for. But again, I think it's very interesting that Minnie kind of took the reins on talking this time. Kind of how when we were talking about UFOs, how the guy did most of the talking. Now it's like Minnie's doing most of the talking. It's always like one person who's leading the pack. You know, we didn't hear much from William, other than his vague statements and yelling at reporters to get off the lawn. He didn't say, he was like, I don't know what that stuff is.
Like Courage the Cowardly Dog type stuff.
Oh my God, what was it? Eustace.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I picture in my head.
Same.
Eustace and Muriel with blood on their walls.
Yeah.
It's
not far off.
It's really creepy because you can go on Google Maps and you can look at the house. It's still there. I mean, obviously it didn't go anywhere, but no reports of any weird thing happening since, which is why
it's definitely
it could have been a ghost. Could have just been like a
gonna pop in real quick.
Yeah, pop in and pop out. Very interesting.
Do you want to hear my fun fact?
Yes, give me that fun fact.
Dr. Harold Shipman, 1946 to 2004, is regarded as the most prolific serial killer in modern history. With over 250 murders ascribed to him, he was a British doctor who murdered his patients. The oldest was a 93-year-old woman, and the youngest was a 41-year-old man. He hung himself in a cell in 2004, a day before his 58th birthday.
Day before his 58th birthday?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Like...
Have you ever heard of the Angels of Death?
No, what's that?
They're like, I don't know exactly what they are, but I know that some of them are like doctors and nurses who would like kill their patients, or they would like, it's similar to like Munchausen. I mean, I'm totally making, like, I don't know if that's true.
Are you
but
making this up?
No, it's no. It's similar to Munchausen's, which is like where parents or a person will make their kids sick, and then they feel some type of joy by the sympathy they get from other people. Did you see the documentary? Oh my God, what's it called?
That's so weird.
The second I saw it, I forced everybody to watch it. But it's like...
Sounds like you.
So basically, there's doctors, like the Angels of Death is what they were called. Or so, I think. Yeah. So I wonder if he's technically one of those. He was a doctor.
Probably.
And he killed all his patients. That's scary. Do you want to hear my fun fact?
Yeah.
The oldest piece of chewing gum recorded is over 9,000 years old and was made from birch bark, tar, and sap. It has tooth and gum marks fossilized in it. It is assumed to have been chewed by ancient Mayans. And it kind of just looks like a big old piece of dog shit.
Amazing.
Someone could have just been chewing on dog shit.
Love that.
Fossilized dog shit.
I smell like bees. Love that girl.
That girl's so funny. Yo, what
That's
the heck?
bats. What did she say?
Look at it's freaking bats. I love Halloween. I follow her mom on everything. She's so funny.
Right.
She's there's classy Jen over there trying to be all fancy. I say that to Jason all the time. So funny.
Wow.
Kids are creepy though. That if I had a kid and she came out and she's like, I smell like beef. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, just Google I smell like beef. Can't promise you that weird stuff isn't going to come up.
Oh shit, yeah.
But there's a video of this little girl looking out the window just repeating, I smell like beef.
Like just like that. I love to Google the like weird things that kids say. Like they're like, don't worry, mommy, I won't cut you up. Like,
who said that?
There's literally so many stories.
Kids are scary sometimes. Dude, kids are scary sometimes. I was babysitting my cousin's daughter, and at the time I was, I think, 16. I must have been, because I could drive there. So she was probably like 5 or 6. And as I'm babysitting, she had an imaginary friend, and the imaginary friend's name was Leica, which is like a name that is so unique that she had never really heard anywhere. And I was like,
so it had to be real.
Obviously,
let's
it had
Google
to have been
that
real.
too.
No, but I do think kids are more open to things like that. So paranormal entities can, talk to them. But so I'm babysitting, and she said that Leica was there and she wanted to play. And honestly, that was the thing that was running through my 16-year-old head was there's a ghost in the house and I'm not getting paid for 3 kids. I'm getting paid for 2. So I'm not babysitting your spooky ass friend. Tell her ass to go home. So I told her, I was like, maybe you can hang out with her tomorrow. Because honestly, I was scared. I was like, oh, I don't want weird stuff to happen. I told her she could hang out with her tomorrow. Then I hear a rip in the kitchen. And the dog ripped through the wall, tore off 3 layers of paint and a layer of wallpaper in the kitchen. Like right after I said that.
Like I was pissed.
She was pissed. Home. She told that dog. She was like, go, sick 'em, girl. Yeah, and then after that, I was like, hey, why don't we just, light some freaking sage and just tell Leica to come over tomorrow. Leica, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, girl. But I wasn't getting paid to watch you.
No, seriously, that's so crazy. And then there'll be like stories online that'll be like, I was taking my child to the park and they told me there was a man standing right next to me, and then I looked and it wasn't there. Like,
oh, we should do maybe next week. It's your turn to pick a topic.
That was gonna be it.
Stop! Don't tell them what it is. It's not gonna be that next week. You'll have to come back for it. She's winking. You can't see it, but she's winking.
Because it's creepy.
It is creepy. No offense, kids out there listening, but you're creepy as hell.
True that.
What are kids but small humans? Right. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you for being weird with us.
Thanks for being weirdos. If you're not already, follow us on Instagram at Esoteric Oddities. We've also got Twitter at Esoteric Oddity. ODDITIE. You can email us at odditiespodcast@gmail.com. If you are listening to us on iTunes, hit us with a review. And thank you to those who have reviewed. We really appreciate it.
Review us.
We're trying to, have a good time. Same with SoundCloud. If you listen to us on SoundCloud, drop a comment. Don't be shy. We're all weirdos here. Sarah, anything you want to say? Like a teacher. I just called her texting and she's like, no.
Like, what? Ew. Don't ever in your life. I hate that.
I hate that too. Well, you shouldn't be texting in class. Put down those gestures. Well, thank you guys for listening. And you'll hear from us next time.
Thanks for calling me out.
Bye.